you ever hear voices in the wind? Noises behind unopened doors? Closing your eyes might help for others, but for you, there's always the After Dark podcast. Welcome back, guys, to the After Dark podcast, episode 13, right? Or 14? 14. I am like 80% sure that is 14. Hold up. Welcome to the After Dark podcast, season 2. Alright, there it is. So, welcome back to the After Dark podcast, and oh my god, I am very unprepared today. Give me 1 second. I'll be back. I'll be back. Okay, there we go. I was talking to myself. I had a mute, but I didn't say much. I just said that my phone was in my table, and So, how are you guys? Hopefully, you guys are really having a great start for the weekend. It is Monday, after all, and being Monday, it is October 29th, which is the 14th episode of season 2 of the After Dark podcast. And well, it saddens me, but we only have one more episode with each other. So, in old season 2 fashion, I do have my tea here, and we are ready to continue. Because oof, I don't know. Oh man, 29 whole episodes, right? Split into 2 seasons, of course. Now, technically, in my mind, when I started this, I never had seasons in mind. All I wanted to do was run it from October 1st all the way to the 31st, with the 31st being a special, right? So, but yeah, and I just didn't know. Yeah, I didn't have in mind that it would be 2 seasons, and I'm very thankful for you guys. I sincerely, from the bottom of my blackened little heart, am grateful and thank you for all the love and support on the podcast. And I don't know, it's just I'm trying to fight the emotions. So please do forgive me if I do stutter and my voice starts to crack a little bit. But yeah, so episode 29 for most of you. But if you follow the prompt, it is season 2, episode 14. Let's get started. Hopefully, you guys are comfortable, are ready to meet some spooks, cause I am. Okay, so here we go. The first story for today is called Twin Girls. Apparently, it's a popular urban legend with children in Spain and in other Spanish-speaking countries. Countries. So, here we go. There was a married couple who lived in a rural area in Spain. Their house was a modest little cottage located at the edge of a busy road. They had 2 daughters who were both twin girls. As they grew up, the twin girls were very well behaved. They never fought or argued. They lived happily together and hated to be separated. One day, the mother had to go to the shop and to buy some milk and bread. She didn't want to leave the girls on their own, so she brought them along with her. Grasping both girls by the hand, the mother led them across the busy road. Unfortunately, the mother had forgotten to look both ways before she crossed the street. Just as she neared the other side, she heard a loud screech and then a horrible crunching sound as her daughter's tiny hands were torn out of the grasp. When the mother twirled around to look, she screamed in horror at what she saw and collapsed to the sidewalk. The twin girls had been run over by a huge truck. The bloody remains of the twin girls were splattered across the road. The mother began to cry and sobbing hysterically. Try as she might, she couldn't tear her eyes away from the two big streaks of red that stained the road. At the funeral, the father tried to comfort his wife, but she was inconsolable. Over and over, she screamed, "This is all my fault. This is all my fault." 4 years later, the mother and father still lived in the same house beside the road where their daughters had perished. The woman became pregnant again. The couple were surprised when the doctor told them they would be having twins again. The parents rejoiced when their two little girls were born. This happy event caused the mother to forget the tragedy of the past. As the twin girls grew up, their mother and father were careful never to mention the previous children. They acted as if the deceased girls had never existed. One day, the two little twin girls were playing in the garden. Their mother came out and told them to come with her to the shop. As they stood at the edge of the road, the mother took hold of both their hands and held them tight. Suddenly, as the mother began walking across the road, the girl began to struggle and try to slip out of the mother's grasp. "No, Mommy, don't hold us," cried the twin girls in unison. "We don't want to die again." Hold up. By the way, we are having some lovely mint tea tonight. You know, mint is alright for you, you know. It's not only for your bad breath, okay? mint is also pretty good for other causes, but hold up. They reincarnated. Wow. Yeah. That was pretty good. I mean, who didn't see it coming, right? Reincarnated, and they don't want to die again. I am like, well, it's sort of in my DNA, I guess you can say. If I do have kids, I have a probability to be having twins because the dad unit is a twin. He has a twin of his own, and yeah, you know, so I could only hope for them to be good twins, right? Anyways, the moral of the story here is, please look both ways before crossing the street. Alright. Sorry about that. I had a hiccup, but we don't want to lose you guys, so please do be careful, right, when crossing the street. Even if it's just one way, you know, look both ways. Okay, so here we go. This one is called McDonald's. Just like that. Simple, sweet, get to the point. McDonald's. And my dad was obsessed with McDonald's. He couldn't live without it. He wouldn't eat at just any fast food restaurant. No Burger King, no Wendy's. It had to be McDonald's. It got to the point where he would have to eat something from McDonald's at least once a day. Sometimes for breakfast, he would run out and get a sausage and egg McMuffin. For lunch, he would grab a McChicken sandwich or a bacon double cheeseburger. His favorite meal was the Big Mac and fries. Let me pause here for a second and say I am not sponsored by McDonald's. You know, if McDonald's, if you want to sponsor your boy, I'm here. Okay. Anyways, let's continue. He enjoyed the food, but the rest of the family quickly got tired of it. After a while, my mother and sister and myself couldn't put up with it anymore. We couldn't bear to look at another chicken McNugget. Gradually, we started trying to avoid eating at McDonald's with him when he realized what we were doing. It really irritated him. He acted like we had somehow betrayed him by not liking McDonald's. "What's wrong?" he demanded one day. "Why won't you come to McDonald's? Is it because you don't want to eat with me?" My mom looked at the floor and my sisters pretended she hadn't heard him. "It's not that, Dad," I replied awkwardly. "It's just that we don't want to eat at McDonald's anymore." He stared at us for a few moments, then shook his head sadly and left. 20 minutes later, he came back with a double quarter pounder with cheese and ate it alone in the living room. He spent the rest of the evening sulking and giving us dirty looks. Hold up. It's just funny. Hold up. Let me. Okay. Here we go. Where was I? Okay. One night, after I finished my homework and watched a little TV, I decided to go to bed. My little sister was already fast asleep at the top of the bunk bed. I turned off the light in the bedroom, and quietly slid into the bottom bunk, taking care not to wake her up. Sometime later, I heard our bedroom door creak open. Squinting in the light in the hallway, I could see a figure standing in the doorway. I blinked my eyes in surprise. It was Ronald McDonald. He was just standing there, silently, staring at us. He didn't seem to be aware that I was awake. In the dim light, he crept into my room and tiptoed quietly over to our bunk bed, from where I was laying at the bottom bunk. I could see him reach out and start to shake my sister. "I'm loving it," he said. "I'm loving it. I'm loving it." I heard my sister's piercing scream as she began shaking violently. All of a sudden, something fell on top of the bunk and hit the desk below, knocking it over and scattered pens and notebooks all over the floor. From the doorway, I heard my mother's voice call out, "What the hell are you doing?" Ronald McDonald rushed over and turned on the lights. At that moment, I realized that it was just my dad, dressed up as a Ronald McDonald costume. I rubbed my eyes and looked around beneath the overturned desk. I saw parts of my sister's pink pajamas peeking out. There was a pool of blood forming around it. My mother began screaming hysterically, and my father just stood there in shock. The ambulance came a few minutes later, and the paramedics rushed in. They looked at my dad in astonishment, and my dad, in his excitement, punched one of them in the face. It was absolute chaos. My mom kept shouting, "No, no, you stay at home." But my dad pushed her out of the way and scrambled into the back of the ambulance with my sister. Our neighbors were all standing in their gardens in their pajamas, watching us dumbfounded. There wasn't much they could do for my sister in the hospital. She had injured her spine and her brain in her fall. When the doctors eventually let her come home, she just lay there in bed with her eyes wide open, her teeth clenched and unclenching, and her arms and legs waving uncontrollably. Before the accident, my sister had been so sweet and pretty, but now she was completely changed. She couldn't speak. All she could do was groan. When my mom asked my dad why she did it, he told her it was to make us like McDonald's more. My mom cried. I said nothing. My dad just kept munching on his Big Mac. What the hell? Hold up. Yo, listen. No matter how much you like a restaurant, if you try to push McDonald's in my face, you're gonna see birds. You're gonna see McChicken nuggets floating all around your face. 'Cause seriously, oh god. To me, I like Jack in the Box better, in my opinion. But Jack in the Box, Carl's Jr., Wendy's. I haven't been to Arby's, so I can't really say I like it or not. McDonald's is my least favorite. It's like at the bottom with Burger King. I could live without it. But the story was funny, more or less, than any, like, scary. Oh, man. Wow. That's funny. So, let's continue with another story called The Internet Star. Scary story, okay. Okay, so we're not going to read the synopsis. Here we go. Internet Star. A 19-year-old girl was attending university in Japan. In her second year of study, she decided that she wanted to improve her English, so she transferred to the University of in the United States. She had always wanted to live in the USA, but she did not anticipate how difficult the change would be for her. As long as she doesn't take no McDonald's, that's all. The course she was studying required her to submit a lot of reports. While she was attending in the university in Japan, she submitted all her reports in Japanese. However, in the American university, all the reports had to be in English. This caused a big problem for the girl because her command of English language was not very good. She had found that she had to spend hours upon hours checking the spelling and grammar while typing her report. Another problem was that she didn't own a laptop. Luckily, the university library had a computer lab with approximately 50 computers that was open 24 hours a day. Unfortunately, there were always long queues for people waiting to use them. Every morning she had to attend lectures, and every evening she had to queue for a computer. This all took its toll, and after a while, the girl became fed up with the daily grind. Late one night, after the Japanese girl had been sitting hunched over the computer for hours, she began to get restless. It was almost 2 a.m., and she was extremely tired. It was getting difficult for her to keep her eyes open. Leaning back in the chair, she yawned and stretched her arms in front of her. Her fingers happened to nudge the computer's keyboard aside. She was about to begin typing again when she happened to glance down and noticed that there was something scratched in the desk underneath the keyboard. It seemed to be like an internet URL. She thought it was odd about it. She thought it was odd that someone had taken the time to engrave a website and address inside the wood. And out of a combination of curiosity and boredom, she decided to look it up. After typing the web address into the browser, she waited a few seconds and a page appeared in the screen. What she saw horrified her. There was a picture of a man covered in blood, lying in the floor of a dimly lit room. It looked so real that it turned her stomach and made her feel like throwing up. Looking closely, she saw a caption below the image. It read, "Dumb guy age 30, killed by me today." A chill went down her spine, and she stared at the gruesome picture. The girl immediately shut down her computer and grabbed her handbags. She hurried out of the computer lab. She returned to her dorm room alone, and spent the night tossing and turning in bed. The horrible photo she had seen was never far from her mind. Could it be real? She asked herself. Maybe it's just a hoax. People post crazy pictures on the internet all the time. The web is full of weird and disturbing websites. Try as she may, the girl couldn't shake the sneaking suspicion that she had stumbled across a website of a murderer. Worst of all, he seemed to be boasting about his crime. The next morning after breakfast, her curiosity got the better of her. She skipped her few lectures and headed straight to the computer lab. When she found a free computer, she sat down, typed the URL, and held her breath. Perhaps she had seen last night was just her imagination. When the website appeared, she saw that the image had changed. Instead of a dead body in a dimly lit room, the photo showed a blonde woman walking down a busy street. The girl breathed in sigh of relief. The picture appeared to have been taken from a distance, and the woman seemed unaware that she was being photographed. The caption underneath said, "Stupid woman around 25-year-old." That evening, the girl went back to her dorm room and didn't speak to anyone. She was still unnerved and couldn't stop thinking about the strange website. As soon as she woke up the next morning, she dressed and went back to the computer lab. There was hardly anyone around. She sat down at a free computer and typed in the website's URL. To her horror, the image had changed again. It was the same dimly lit room, but this time, the blonde woman lay on the floor. Blood was flowing from her nose and mouth. There was a large knife sticking out of her chest. Under the photo were the words, "Stupid woman, around 25-year-old, killed by me today." The girl was horrified and immediately contacted the police. Over the phone, it was difficult for her to explain the situation. Her English was not very good, and she spent a long time repeating herself and trying to find the right words to describe what she had found. In the end, she wasn't even sure the police had understood what she was trying to say. However, they took her name and address, phone number, and the URL of the website. When she hung the phone up, the girl was shaking. She couldn't seem to get the awful picture out of her mind. She had to take another look. Okay. That evening, she returned to the computer lab again, and with mixed feelings of fear and curiosity, she entered the URL at the website. When the page loaded, she discovered that the image had been there just a few hours before. It was gone. Instead, there was a picture of a girl taken from behind. She had short black hair, a lime green t-shirt, and was sitting in front of a computer. The girl got a sneaky suspicious feeling in the pit of her stomach, and she broke out in cold sweat. She recognized the hair. She recognized the clothes. She was staring at a picture of herself. Her name, address, and phone number were written under the picture, followed by a sentence. You're my next internet star. The Japanese girl ran out of the computer lab and went straight back to her dorm room. She packed her belongings, and by the next morning, she was on a flight back to Japan. She never returned to the United States again. Wow. I mean, oof. I mean, things happen, like this happen, and you what, you gotta be careful when you guys go into sites. I mean, don't just feel brave about it. You know, do the smart and responsible thing and wait it out. You know what I mean? Like wait it out for like another 30 minutes, I guess, and then ask yourself if it's a dumb idea to go to the website or not. Wow. I mean, that is something else. Ooh. Curiosity killed the cat, folks. Curiosity killed the cat. So, this was called a supermodel, and of course, this one has something to do with the internet as well. 2 years ago, there was a supermodel I had a huge crush on. She was really one of the most beautiful women I have ever seen. One day, when I was looking at her website, I noticed that she had a Facebook account. I sent her a friend request, and the next day, she accepted it. On Facebook, she had thousands of fans, and whenever she posted a new picture, she would write a few lines, telling everyone what was going on in her life. Her fans would post comments too, telling her how beautiful she was or how much they adored her. The supermodel updated her Facebook with a new photo every day. Sometimes she would have a new hairstyle, sometimes she would take a photo of herself without makeup, and occasionally she would dress up in a costume. Every day, every morning when I arrived at work, I would check her Facebook to see what her new picture was she had posted of herself. However, one day when I checked her account, there was no update. I was a little disappointed. Then I looked at the last comment she had posted. I think I have a stalker. In fact, I'm sure of it. Someone was in my room yesterday when I was out. The other day, I felt like I was being followed. Is it one of you? I'm going to contact the police tomorrow. There were a lot of comments from her fans telling her they were worried about her and begging her to let them know if she was alright. It was a little creepy, but I didn't think much of it. Over the next week, the supermodel didn't write anything more, but her picture was updated every day. On Monday, it was a close-up of her nose. On Tuesday, her mouth. Wednesday, her ear. And on Thursday, her arm. On Friday, her leg. And on Saturday, her feet. On the comments on each picture, her fans were becoming more and more worried. When I saw the image that was posted on Sunday, I almost threw up. It was a picture of a smiling man holding a woman's mutilated corpse in his arms. Her head had been cut off, and it was sitting in her stomach. There was some text written beneath it. Here's your precious supermodel. None of you can have her. She belongs to me now, and I won't share her with anyone. Her password was easy to guess. It was her birthday. It was absolutely horrific. As soon as I saw it, I called the police to report it, but they didn't take it seriously. I decided to go down to the police station in person. I gave them the URL to her Facebook, and when they opened it, I realized that the image had changed again. It was a picture of a man's severed head. What? Okay. The police immediately rushed to her address, and when they found the supermodel's apartment, they broke down the door. Inside, they found the dead bodies of a man and a woman. Both of them had been decapitated. The police were presented with a real mystery. They knew who the murderer. They knew who murdered the supermodel, but they could never figure out who killed her murderer. To this day, the case remains unsolved. Whoa. Okay. I mean, like I said, be careful. You know, I mean, if you're tossing your picture left and right on media. You know, the very least you can do is hide your name. You know, I mean, hide your name, or hide your face. Besides, it's. I apologize for that. It's unnerving. It's unnerving. People out there really like that. You know, whether they be man or women, but they're real out. They're really out there. All right, so let me see. Okay, I think we've read some of these. We read some of these, but these are short. These are short tales. Okay, they're like one sentences, two sentences, and you guys know how much I like these two sentences ones that I really do like. So, very scary short tales for kids and adults to read online. Quick samples of horror should be taken just before bedtime, and it shortcuts the nightmares. Sure. So, these are listed from 1 to 17. So, here we go. Number 1. My daughter cries and screams at night. Every time I visit her grave, I ask her to stop. She won't listen. Number 2. Lying in bed, unable to sleep. I blink my eyes and notice a message written in the bedroom door. I read, I know you're awake. Number 3. I grab my husband's arm tightly. As we walk through the haunted house, by the time we got out, he was never to be found, but I was still holding his arm. Okay. Number 4. Would you like some milk in your coffee? Asked the old woman as she opened the fridge. I caught a glimpse of something that looked like a human head. Number 5. I woke up to my grandmother's gently caressing my hair. It was nice until I remembered she died when I was 9. Number 6. Eat your cookie, I screamed the old man to a little boy. Eat your cookie or I'll kill you. The boy's puppy's name was Cookie. Oh. Okay, number 7. Sometimes when people come home, they feel a little paranoid and check every room just to make sure that they're the only ones in the house. I've seen you do this. Luckily for me, you never check behind the curtains. Lucky for me, I own no curtains. I don't know, man. Number 8. A man was shaving in front of a mirror. When he bent over to rinse his face in the sink, his reflection didn't move. Again with the mirror stories. Number 9. They opened his grave, but all they found was the head of a poor man whose body had been stolen. Okay. Number 10. All night you keep hearing a faint creaking noise. You keep looking behind you, but there's nothing there. Why don't you look above you? Sense. Number 11. Last night I heard the laughter coming from the basement. The house doesn't have a basement. Or so you think. Number 12. Number 12. You hear a knocking on the door. Okay, number 12. You hear a knocking on the door of your hotel room, and the voice shouts, "Room service." I don't remember ordering room service, you reply. Okay then. I'm the maid, said the voice. Wait, what? Hold up. This one got me. You hear knocking on the door of your hotel room, and the voice shouts, "Room service." I don't remember ordering room service, you reply. Okay then, I'm the maid. I said, what? No. What? Okay, let's just keep going. Number 13. While I was away, someone broke into my house. Nothing was stolen, but they left a dusty old coffin in the middle of my living room. Wow. Okay. Number 14. My neighbor has been screaming at me for days now. Maybe I should have buried her head with the rest of her. Number 15. The darkness swallowed her. Then it spit her out. Number 16. You're on the toilet taking a poop. You go to wipe when you feel something grabbing your wrist and starts pulling your hand to the bowl. You struggle and manage to free yourself. Jumping out of the toilet, you turn to look, but there's nothing there. Now your hand is covered in poop. That's gross. Yeah. Okay. 17. Last but not least, last night I was sleeping alone in my room. I smelled a fart that wasn't mine. I mean, I always smoke, like from time to time. I always smell farts. They're not mine. They're my dog's. And I tell her, Jesus Christ, man, what did she eat? Pretty funny. Pretty funny. Pretty good ones too, by the way. Oh, I don't know what to think. I don't know what to say about those. But let's keep going to another one called Landlady. Okay, so apparently this little story is based on an old episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, which was in turn based an old short story by Roald Dahl. Okay. A 17-year-old boy named Billy Weaver went to London to find a job. When he got off the train carrying his suitcase, he went looking for somewhere to stay for the night. There was a line of a tall house on each side of the street, and all of them looked identical. Billy noticed a sign in the window that read, "Bed and Breakfast." He crossed the street and peered through the window. There was a fire burning in the heart of the little... There was a fire burning in the hearth, and a little dog was curled up asleep in the carpet. He saw that the room was nicely furnished. There was a piano, a big sofa in the corner. There was a parrot in a cage. It looked like a nice place to stay. He rang the doorbell, and before he even had the time to take his finger off the button, the door swung open, and a middle-aged woman was standing there. She gave him a little bit of a fright. Come in, she said, with a welcome smile. Billy went inside, and she closed the door behind him. I was looking for a room for the night, he said. It's all ready for you, my dear, she said as she took his coat and hung it up in the hallway. £5 a night, including breakfast. It was very cheap, and the woman seemed nice and friendly. She reminded him of his mother. We have the place to ourselves, she said, as she led the way upstairs. It isn't very often I have visitors, you see. I'm inclined to be just a teeny weeny bit choosy in particular. Betty followed her up to the second floor. Here's your room, she said. I hope you like it. Thank you, Betty said. The bed was made, and the bedclothes had been neatly turned back on the one side, all ready for someone to get in. I'll leave you to unpack your things, she said. Then you can come downstairs and sign the guest book. She gave him a little wave with the hand and went quickly out of the room and closed the door. The landlady was a bit odd, but that didn't bother Billy After all, she was harmless, and she was obviously a kind and generous soul. After unpacking his suitcase and washing his hands, he went downstairs in the living room. The fire was still burning in the hearth, and the little dog was still sleeping in front of it. The guest book is lying open on the piano, so he picked up a pen and wrote down his name and address. There were 2 other entries above him. In the one page, one was Christopher Mulholland from Cardiff. The other was Gregory Temple from Bristol. That's funny, he murdered himself. These names ring a bell. Where have I heard them before? Christopher Mulholland, Gregory Temple. Such charming boys, said a voice behind him. He turned around to see the landlady coming into the room with a tea tray in her hands. I'm sure I've read these names before in the newspaper, he said. They weren't famous, were they? Famous? The landlady said as she put down the tray and sat on the sofa. Oh no, I don't think they were famous. They were just young and handsome. My dear, exactly like you. Come over here now, dear, and sit beside me on the sofa. And have a nice cup of tea before you go to bed. Which is what we're having right now. Let me take a sip of it. Thank you, nice, generous, kind lady. Let's continue. What was that? Okay. I'm almost positive it was in a newspaper I saw them. Billy said, I'll think of it in a second. I'm sure I will. Come over here now and sit next to me and warm yourself in front of this lovely fire. Come on, your tea's all ready for you. She patted the empty place beside her on the sofa, and she sat there smiling at Billy. He sat down at the edge of the sofa, and she placed his teacup on the table in front of him. There we are, she said. How nice and cozy is this, isn't it? Billy started sipping his tea. She did the same for a while. Neither of them spoke, but Billy could feel her eyes watching him. Mr. Moholand was a great one for his tea, she said in length. Never in my life have I seen anyone drink as much tea as dear. Sweet Mr. Moholand. If she only knew me, actually, because I do love tea. You know, whatever tea you would give me, you know, without any question, I'll drink it. Wait, maybe a little question, but, you know, I'll still drink it. When did he leave? Billy asked. Leave? She said. But my dear boy, he never left. He's still here. Mr. Temple is also here. They're on the third floor, both of them together. Billy sat down his cup slowly on the table and stared at the landlady. She smiled back at him and patted his knee. How old are you, my dear? She asked. 17, he replied. 17, she cried. Oh, it's a perfect age. Mr. Moholand was also 17, but he's a bit shorter than you. And Mr. Temple was a little older. He was actually 28. And yet, I never would have guessed if he hadn't told me. There wasn't a blemish on his body. His skin was just like a baby. Billy picked up the cup and took another sip of the tea. He stared at the parrot in the cage and noticed that it wasn't moving at all. Is that parrot stuffed? He asked. You know something? It had come to me completely fooled. I could have sworn it was alive. How did it? I did it myself, said the landlady. And have you seen my little Basil as well? Oh, I know where this is going. Billy looked at the dog curled up in front of the fireplace, and suddenly he realized the whole time it had been as silent and motionless as the parrot. He reached out and touched the dog. It was hard and cold. Wow, he said. It must be very difficult. Not at all, she said. I stuff all my pets when they pass away. Well, would you have another cup of tea, my dear? No, thank you, Billy said. He didn't like the tea. It had a strange taste, something like bitter almonds. The room was beginning to feel very hot, and Billy was having trouble catching his breath. I'm glad you signed the guest book, said the landlady, because I'm very forgetful. Later on, if I forget what you were called, I can come down here and look it up. I still do almost every day with Mr. Moholand and Mr. Temple, Billy said. Haven't there been any other guests here except for them in the last 2 years? No, my dear, she said with a smile. Only you. Wow. I mean, Jesus Christ. It's very clear what she was doing. Mr. Temple and Moholand were killed. She pretty much, I think she poisoned them with the tea, and she stuffed them. She's a taxidermist. Oh my God, that's creepy. That's creepy. Please, if you offer me a cup of tea, I do appreciate it. If you don't spike it, please. I would love to remember our time together. Please don't spike it. Just one more sip of my tea, and we will get started. Alright, so here we go. That was good tea. Okay, so we move on to another one. Putting aside that even old ladies can be devilish, but this was called Good Stories. Really good scary stories for kids, teenagers, and adults to tell at sleepovers. Read these short stories, short ghost tales in the dark at a bonfire while camping, and have a good time scaring each other to death. It's just like what we're doing right now. We're in camp, and we're listening to the fire flicker and the crickets chirp or sing. Anyway, Anyways, the first story is called The Old Television. A few years ago, in a small town in Spain, there was a married couple who had a 6-year-old boy. There was an old television in their son's bedroom, and every night when he had to go to bed, he would insist on covering it with a blanket. His parents noticed his odd behavior, and one day, out of curiosity, they asked him, "Son, who do you always cover? Uh, who do you always cover the TV at night?" The boy gave them a strange look and replied, cryptically, "Because that's how they get in." Parents were confused and just dismissed it as a child superstitious. One night, they went out to the theater and hired a babysitter to take care of the boy. While they were away, after the play finished, the parents went to a bar for a drink and then reunited home after midnight. To their surprise, they found the babysitter collapsed at the bottom of the stairs, crying hysterically. When they asked her what happened, she looked up at them with terror in her eyes and said, "They took him away." The parents ran up the stairs, and when they went to the boy's bedroom, they were horrified. Their son was nowhere to be found, and there was a trail of blood leading to the television. Maybe she had like an old time television. Who knows? One of those big ones. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can fit in a in a flat screen TV, so I think I'm good. Let's continue. This was called How to Write a Good Ghost Story. There was a girl who liked to write scary stories. She had a scary website where she would publish her stories so that people in her class would read them. One day she made up a story and published it in her website, claiming that it was a true story. The story went like this. There was a park, and if you went there, you would see a boy always playing on his own. He would say to you, "Let's play together." If you answered yes, you would be killed, but if you answered no, you could go home safely. The story quickly spread among people in their school who read the blog. One day, the girl actually went to the park. She described in her story and saw a boy playing there. The boy said to her, "Let's play together." The girl thought nothing of it and casually replied, "Yes." And the girl died. Dude, just like that. I mean, we don't even... She died. How she died? I don't know. She died. Okay, let's continue. This other one's called The Fatal Accident, or Which is Which. There was a 20-year-old girl who lived with her boyfriend. Their life together was a perfectly ideal, and they both hoped that nothing would happen to change it. Each time they embraced, she told her boyfriend that she couldn't live without him. He assured her that he felt the same way. They were madly in love. One Saturday night, as every Saturday night, they went out to a nightclub to celebrate the birthday of a friend. While they were there, they drank away too much alcohol. They returned home very late, and eager to get to bed, they took a shortcut and drove at a speed limit, at high speed. The next morning, when they woke up, they both felt that something about their relationship had changed. Their mutual understanding was somehow different. They no longer spoke, no longer touched, no longer kissed. In short, they almost completely ignored each other. One evening, they both found themselves watching TV together. The news came, and there was a story about a fatal accident that had happened the night before. The newsreaders said that one of the victims had died and the other one survived. When the picture of the two victims flashed upon the screen, the girl and her boyfriend were horrified. They were staring at their faces. The most terrifying thing was that there was one question that remained unanswered. Which one of them was a ghost? I mean, you really want to make sure, you know that? I mean, if you're a ghost or not. Wow. That's why, perfect timing, perfect timing for me to mention this. This is why I keep telling y'all not to mess around with your phones while driving. Put your phones down. If you're listening to my podcast in your car, I beg you, please have that car turned off or at least parked at the side of the road. All right? Because one, I don't want to be reading things like this about you guys. You know, like let's say that one of you guys were driving and all of a sudden, boom, crash because they found you with your body with the phone in your hand. Come on. You know, if you're listening to the After Dark podcast, please, hopefully it's on speaker or you're connecting me to the auxiliary cable and listening to my beautiful voice in the four corners of your car, and I'm messing around with your phone. If you have a person right next to you, please give that phone to him or her and just say, hey, you know what? I want to listen to the After Dark podcast season 2. It's the last 2 episodes. Come on. And then, you know, on Wednesday comes the special. So I would like to hear it. And you go to it. Trust the person, please. So please, don't drink and drive. Don't smoke and drive. Don't play with your phones and drive, because they're all brutal. They'll get you hurt. You'll hurt other people. And if you don't go to jail, you're either dead. Period. Or you killed more than one person. So please, 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 last time for for tonight and for any other night, please do not play with your phones while driving or any other stuff. Just pay attention to the road, please. We move on to the other story called "Have You Seen My Son?" Have you seen my son? The frantic mother asked. The old man who lived next door shook his head. The mother knocked on every door in the street. Have you seen my son? She asked over and over. None of the neighbors had seen the boy. No one knew where he was. The mother went to the police station and asked the officer behind the desk, have you seen my son? And the police organized a search for a missing boy. They got a recent photo of him from his mother and circulated it. They made announcements on the television and radio asking for information. They searched houses and poked through alleys, combed fields and dredged rivers, but there was no sign of the child. Every morning, the mother left her home, and put posters up all over town. Each one had a picture of the little boy on it, and in the caption below read, "Have you seen my son?" Once a week, the mother would go down to the police station and ask the officer at the desk, "Have you seen my son?" Each time the officer would sigh, shake his head sadly, and said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, not yet." Each time the mother walked home with a smile on her face. They would never find her son, as she had hidden his body also well. Okay, that was good. I like that one. Ooh, can't even trust our parents. Jesus Christ. Yo, you know what? Just hug your parents. They'll be like, they'll get confused. Both of them. They'll be like, yo, why are you hugging me all of a sudden? Because you may never know, man. You may never know. You just be like, I promise I'll change for the better. Just sprinkle that out there like salt. Marinate. Okay, hold up. But yes, be nice to your parents. Be very nice to your parents. They're the only people that you guys have. So here we go. Next one, camping in the forest. There were 4 friends, 2 boys and 2 girls, who decided to go camping in the forest. When they got to the campground, which was near a highway rest stop, they unloaded their camping gear and set up a tent. After singing some songs, telling some scary stories around the campfire, they were feeling tired and went to sleep. In the middle of the night, one of the girls woke up and wanted to go to the bathroom. The horror stories they had been telling around the campfire made her too scared to go to the toilet in the woods. Instead, she decided that it would be safer to walk back to the rest stop on the highway and use the public toilet there. I second that. 1 hour later, when the girl still hadn't returned, her friend became worried. Another hour passed with no sign of her coming back. Her friends decided to go looking for her. When they got to the rest stop, they opened the toilet door and screamed in horror. The girl was sitting there in the toilet, with her jeans around her ankles and a wooden stake impaled through her belly. Wow. Okay. I've never been camping, like I told you guys before. But if if you do go camping, you guys want to go to the bathroom, wake a friend up. Be like, hey, fucking follow me to the bathroom, please. They'll be pissed, but they'll be like, hey, you know what? Yeah, at least you're saving a life, so quit whining. Alright, so here we go. The other one's this one's called The Curious Incident of the Woman in the Night. A young woman moved to an apartment building in a quiet city suburb. The first night he wait. The first night she slept. Okay, so there's a typo here. She slept in her new apartment. Wait, hold up. Another typo. Alright. Yeah. Oh, okay. The title's called The Curious Incident of the Woman in the Night. And it begins like this. A young man moved into an apartment building in a quiet city suburb. The first night he slept, it was in his new apartment. He was awoken at about 9 o'clock in the morning by a knock on his door. When he got up and answered the door, he found a young woman standing there. She apologized for waking him up and told him that she was her neighbor. Her husband had beaten her up, and she asked if she could spend the night in his sofa. She promised that she would get up early in the next morning and call her family to pick her up. The man nodded politely and agreed to let her stay. Although it seemed strange for him, he got her to settle comfortably in the sofa and went back to bed. The next morning, as soon as he got up, he discovered that the living room was empty and the woman had already left. He assumed that her family had probably came to pick her up, and she was safe now. That night, at the same time as before, there was a knock in his door. It was the same young woman. She told him that her husband had beaten her up again and asked if she could spend another night in the sofa. The next morning, he woke up to find that she had disappeared again. The man grew suspicious and asked the landlord in the apartment building about the strange neighbor. The landlord's face grew pale, and he said that the apartment beside his was unoccupied. He said that the woman who lived there had died 1 year before, after being beaten to death by her husband. Okay, now, wow, okay, so, something similar happened to me in the morning today. I was sleeping, and I heard a tapping, right, like how you would, like, hear when you tap on the window, like, so I'm like, who the hell is knocking on the window at this time? And when I saw it was like 6 in the morning, and I was like, oh my god, I still need like 30 minutes to sleep, and whoever this is waking me up. God, you guys are cruel, right? So I ignored it, but my dog went crazy, barked, stuff like that. I'm all like, maybe they have the wrong house, and when they hear my dog screaming, they'll finally figure out, oh, wait a minute, this person doesn't have a dog, so I'll leave alone. But no, she continued to knock on the door, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, fine. I got out of bed, I got my glasses, I opened the door, I creaked open the door. I didn't swung the door open because you don't do that. Vince, how are you, man? Hopefully you're having a really good Monday today. It's Monday, it's October 29th, and like I said in the beginning of the podcast, this is the second to last episode. So you didn't miss much. I mean, you could always go back to the replay of YouTube and hear what you missed. So, but right now I'm telling a story of what happened to me in the morning. So it was 6 in the morning and somebody was knocking on the door, and I still had like 30 minutes to sleep, right? Because I always wake up at 6:30, and well, she persisted in knocking on the door, and finally I got my glasses. I woke up, I creaked the door open, and before she could even say anything, I'm all like, you have the wrong house. You have the wrong house. I don't know you, you don't know me, you definitely have the wrong house. And she apologized, and then I think she said, where I can find somebody, I don't know. And I told her, you know what, maybe you're like confusing the apartment, because all the apartments where I live, they look the same. Alright, so I told her, maybe you're confusing it, and the person you might be looking for is like the next building over. And she apologized, and she went on. I don't know where she went, But hopefully she's all right. I mean, she did wake me up earlier than my alarm. But hey, you know, hopefully she's all right. Oh yes, I forgot about that. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. New Year in October. Happy New. Yes. Yes, Vince. I totally forgot that you're like a couple hours, like 2 hours away from me. That's just right. It is October 3rd. So technically for you, this is like the last episode, right? If I'm not mistaken. But because and then like if I do my last episode tomorrow, it'll be the 31st for you. So yeah. So yeah. So like don't open the door all the way. Like buy yourself those chains. You know what I'm talking about. Like you put in your door, and like just open it to that length. That way, whoever's trying to open the door forcefully, they'll stop dead in their tracks. But yes, lady, please don't wake me up at 6 in the morning. Oh my god, I'm still mad about it, man. 30 minutes. I had 30 minutes to sleep, and she took them away from me. How dare she? Jesus Christ. But yeah, Fins, thank you for coming by the second to last day of the podcast. And it really does mean a lot to me, Fins. And hopefully, like I said, you're having a really good 30th of October where you're at right now. So let's celebrate with another story called The Bouncing Ball. There was a babysitter who was hired to take care of a little girl. That night, after the parents left, the babysitter allowed the girl to watch a horror movie in the television. Halfway through the movie, the little girl said she wanted to go to the toilet, but she was too scared to go on her own. The babysitter didn't want to miss the movie, so she came up with a solution. She gave the little girl a rubber ball and told her to keep bouncing it while she was in the toilet. That way the babysitter would know she was okay. The little girl did as she was told, and the babysitter listened to her high-pitched voice singing, "Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy." Half an hour later, the babysitter started to wonder why the little girl hadn't come back. She still heard the singing coming from the toilet, "Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy." But now, the little girl's voice sounded deeper. The babysitter reluctantly got off the sofa and went to check if everything was okay. When she opened the bathroom door, the babysitter was horrified to find a mental patient sitting in the floor, bouncing the little girl's head on the floor, singing, "Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy." Okay, I mean, oof, that ending though. Wow. Okay, first of all, if you're a babysitter, whatever age you are, you take care of those kids. The movie will come back soon. It'll probably come out on DVD or Blu-ray, and you'll be able to buy it. So, but I don't think you'll be able to buy another girl. Wow, that is very interesting. Oof. Anyway, let's move on to another story called "The Boy in the Mountain Road." A married couple were driving down a mountain road. One night, suddenly, they saw a young boy step out in front of their car. The husband slammed on the brakes, and the car skidded to a halt. When he looked up, the child had disappeared. Looking outside, the couple realized that the car was perched at the edge of the cliff. As the husband hadn't slammed on the brakes in that exact moment, they would have driven off right off the edge of the cliff and had fallen to their death on the rock below. After a few seconds, they sat in shocked silence when the wife said, "The little boy saved us. He must have been a good spirit sent to warn us." There was a few more seconds of silence, and then the couple heard a child's voice behind them angrily hiss, "You were supposed to die." Oh, okay, so the boy was mad. The boy was pissed that they didn't die. Jesus Christ, man. How many more? Okay, so there's two more like short stories, and then we'll read one more story, and we'll call it a day for episode 14. So this other story is called "The Finger in the Box." One night, I had a very strange dream. I was in my house and I heard the doorbell ring. When I answered the door, there was nobody there. All I found was a small box sitting in my doorstep. When I opened the box, I was shocked to discover a finger inside, a severed human finger. When I woke up in a then, I woke up in a cold sweat. A few days ago, I was unclogging my kitchen sink. Something had fallen down the drain, and when I reached inside to pull it out, the garbage disposal suddenly came on. I felt a sharp, intense pain, and when I pulled my hand out, my finger was missing. It had been cut off. I spent the night at the hospital. They told me that they couldn't reattach the finger. Instead, they would just they will sew up the wound and bandaged it. Last night, I had another strange dream. There was another box sitting in my doorstep. This time, when I opened it, I found a human heart inside. What? Okay. So he pretty much like foresaw his bad happenings, I guess, with the finger cutting off. So this time he foresees his death. Wow. That is very creepy. And the last one is called A Visitor in the Night. There was a young boy who lived with his parents. Their house was in a bad neighborhood, and there was a lot of crime in the area. One night, while he was lying in bed, unable to sleep, the boy thought he heard a scratching noise. He couldn't figure out where it was coming from. He went to the parents' bedroom and woke them up. When they asked him what was wrong, he complained that he wasn't able to sleep because there was a strange scratching noise coming outside of his room. His mother told him he was just being childish and ordered him to go back to bed. Later that night, he was awoken again by the mysterious scratching noise. He still couldn't work out exactly where the sounds were coming from. Not wanting to wake his parents up again, he tried to ignore it. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his back. He cried out in pain and jumped out of bed, ran to his parents' bedroom. He woke them up and told them that he had been bitten by a bedbug. His father got up and accompanied him back to his bedroom. When they turned on the bedroom light, they saw that his bedroom window was standing open. The father inspected the bed and discovered a small hole in the sheet where some of the mattress stuffing was coming through. They assumed that it was a spring in the mattress must be broken and poked him. The father flipped the mattress over the mattress and was horrified to find a knife sticking through the other side. There was mud and dirt under the bed, exactly where someone's shoes would be. Opening the window and looking outside, they were shocked to discover fresh footprints in the mud leading away from the window. See, that's why I like to live at the second floor. So they try to do that thing with me, they're gonna have a really bad time because I live at the second floor, boys. Whew. All right, so we'll read one more. Let me find one. Okay. What about this one? Let me see. Okay, so this was called restless leg syndrome. Okay, here we go. Now it goes like this. My grandfather suffered from restless leg syndrome. At least that's what he told me for years. He rarely got a good night's sleep. His leg hurt so much, and he had to keep getting up and walk around to dull the pain. My grandmother said he had the condition ever since he came back from the war. The day he returned, she was there at the train station to greet him. He limped down the platform and fell into her welcoming arms. She said he had always refused to use a cane or a crutch, no matter how much he struggled with walking. One dark and stormy night, Granddad was limping down the hallway in his way to bed. I was walking behind him to make sure he didn't fall over. Just then, there was a flash of lightning. There was that was the first time I saw it. I thought I caught a glimpse of something wrapped around his leg. What was that? I asked in alarm. When he got to the bedroom and turned the lights on, I could see there was nothing there. What was on your leg? I asked again. I thought I saw something just a split second ago. Something strange. What was it? I guess it's time I told you, said my grandfather as he lay down on bed. It's my restless leg syndrome. It happened during the war. In 1942, I was stationed in New Guinea. I, I saw terrible things, horrible things, the kind of things that would make you go sick to your stomach. Most people who have been to war try to forget. You try to push it to the back of your mind. You try to not think about it. I have tried to forget, but it never lets me. Not even for one day. I am cursed, you see. Cursed to carry it around for the rest of my life as a reminder. When we landed in New Guinea, we were all fresh-faced, and experience was experience. We had no idea what lay in store for us. We set up camp on an island south on the southern coast, and some of the local people, Papuans they called them, were helping us with the supplies. There was a little Papuan boy who used to hang around our camp. He couldn't have been more than 5 or 6. I can't even remember his name. The only words he knew in English were yes and no, and I guess he was impressed by all the soldiers in uniform. He would run around trying to get all the fellows to play games with him. With the Japanese soldiers still nearby, it was very dangerous there for him. So we tried to scare him off, no matter what he did. The little fellow just kept coming back. One night, the Japanese attacked us. We were outnumbered, and they damn near overran our position. I woke up to the sound of yelling and screaming outside my tent. It was chaos. Shots were being fired left and right. It was close quarter combat. I was terrified. I stumbled out of my bunk, grabbed my gun, and rushed to join the fight. In the darkness, I felt something wrapped itself around my leg. I didn't know what it was. All I knew was that I had to get out to my position as fast as I could. My buddies needed me. Whatever it was, it had me in its clutches. I could barely move my leg. It was almost pitch black, and I was desperately trying to free myself. I swung the rifle down viciously to the effort to break its grip. Suddenly, there was a flash of lightning, and it illuminated the tent for a split second. I looked down and saw the scared eyes looking up at me. Blood was running down his face. I had bashed his head in. Out of fear, the little Papuan boy had run into my tent, grabbed onto my leg. I saw his eyes slowly roll back to his head as he breathed his last. But he didn't let go. He never let go. He will never let go. Wow. War, we play war a lot. Call of Duty or Battlefield, other war games, and we don't know the true nature of war. And a lot of people think it would be just like the games or the movies, but in reality it's much worse than that. So well, yeah. Wow. Well, anyways, guys, thank you guys for listening to me tonight. This has been the After Dark Podcast, Season 2, Episode 14, or 29. Whichever you like. And let me tell y'all that, 29 episodes are deep, and I already got used to it. I already got used to it the moment I sat down here and read my first stories with you guys. But unfortunately, like I said, all good things must come to an end. And tomorrow, it'll be the last episode and the last day for the After Dark Podcast. But, it was fun. I had fun reading to you guys. I had fun trying to come up with the sounds that you hear. Yeah, I try to edit it myself. I grab the sounds from YouTube, and that way I won't get copyrighted. But hopefully 29 episodes in, and I at least gave you guys some uh, entertainment for whatever you were doing, because I was the one reading them. All you guys had to do was just listen, kick back, listen, or if you guys were doing your homework, Vince, I see you. Just put me on speaker and let me do the talking. So let me do the reading. If you guys were just in a slumber party and didn't feel like saying scary stories, and all of a sudden you come across my After Dark podcast, boom, there it is. I mean, I'm reading the stories for you. If you guys had any suggestions on what to read, I have the chat right in front of me, and I would gladly read them, like I did with Neon Man. So thank you very much for the suggestions. I really do appreciate it. So thank you guys for coming. I really do appreciate it. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so. The link is in the description below. We can talk, chat, send pictures, send memes. Send your best play of the games on Overwatch. I would like to see that. If you have any horror stories, any scary stories, any fables, folklore, urban legends, or anything of the sort, you can send them to me, one more time on my Twitter with the hashtag TheAfterDarkPodcast S2, or hashtag TADTADPS2. S2 for season 2, and I'll gladly read them and give full credit where credit is due. Like I keep telling you guys, a horror story doesn't have to be an essay long. It could be just 2 sentences, and you'll get straight to the point. So, yeah, follow me on Twitter if you guys want. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, you can do so too. I am a digital artist. I am a traditional artist, and I normally post every Wednesday and Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. California time. But since it is October, I am partaking in the Inktober challenge, and I am drawing every day and posting every day. And up to this point, it has been 29 days, so it's 29 drawings up in my Instagram right now, from start to finish. You guys can see my work all throughout this month, and tomorrow and on Wednesday will be the last one. So 2 more days for me to draw all day. So maybe the schedule for me uploading my drawings on Instagram would change, because I kind of like drawing every day now. Back then I would just draw something today and finish it off tomorrow, and then post it on Wednesday. You know what I mean? So today, normally I would draw something, leave it alone, come back tomorrow, color it in, and then post it on Wednesday. So maybe that'll change, and maybe I'll start pushing myself. In other words, I'll try to start pushing myself and post 3 times a week this time, instead of just 2. So it'll be on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So maybe, who knows? Or maybe I'll just keep posting every day. Who knows? I don't know yet. So it all depends on what I decide to learn. So also, if we hit 250 followers on Instagram, I'll either do a live stream or a video of me drawing, either digitally or traditional with pen and paper, and I'll post it on YouTube, because I don't know if Instagram will let me post that long of a video or that long of a live stream on Instagram. So I don't know yet. So maybe you guys can decide whether it be a live stream or a video. So and that'll be every 250. So 250, every 50, I mean. So every 250, 300, 350, 400, 450, etc., etc. So let me know. So movie recommendation time. I always recommend a horror movie to watch every night, and tonight I recommend the movie Friend Request. It's a 2016 English language German supernatural psychological horror film. Boy, this movie. It's directed by Simon Verhoeven, produced by Keaton Berg and Max Weidenman. It's written by Matthew Ballin, Philip Kutch, and Simon Verhoeven. What? Okay. Its release date was on January 7th, 2016, over there on Germany, and its runtime is 92 minutes, which is approximately like around an hour and 30, around 40, somewhere around there. But yeah, go check it out. It's very interesting. Very interesting. What a little friend request can do to somebody. I'm not trying to spoil anything, but go watch it. It's a pretty good movie. It's a pretty good movie. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for coming to the After Dark podcast for 29 days straight. Whether you're here in the live stream right now, in chat, or you watch this in the replay, I really, really do appreciate it. So, and on that note, make sure to always bring a flashlight. Never walk alone on an empty street. And always, I mean always, double check your surroundings, because you may never know who or what can be lurking after dark. Peace out, everybody. Have a great and safe night tonight. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for one last time. Peace out, everybody.